What up, my fellow Knicks fans? This is your guy Marcellus Ease, and don't panic quite yet. So this will be for informational purposes only, as the NBA competition committee as well as the league officials have met up on March 12th, and they went over a couple of rules that they wanted the officials to mainly emphasize on due to the uptake in the scoring. Keep in mind the NBA is a television product and they are in the middle of TV negotiations, and just in the last month alone, the league scoring has taken not necessarily quite a dip, but the change is very noticeable. And those same exact changes do work in favor of the characteristics of this current Knicks roster. So it's looking like the basketball gods are falling down and looking over the city, as not only we're getting our main core coming back into the lineup heading into April, but also a boost in the officiating playing into the characteristics of our team. But I'm not going to say no more. Let's just get to it.
See, as you can see, the more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out. And also, if you stay down here and you never fuck around, you'll never find out.
Alcohol, right.
The first point of education to review is freedom of movement and contact on screens. The highlighted offensive player, Taylor Hendricks, passes the ball to his teammate, Talen Horton-Tucker, and Hendricks then continues moving forward, and he moves into the path of the trailing defender, Quentin Grimes. Hendricks does not give Grimes the opportunity to avoid contact, and the offensive foul was correctly called.
So right here, it looks like the league wants players to actually set these screens a lot earlier. Perhaps stay right here or just stop right around here for this dribble handoff. It can't be a dribble handoff at the same time become a screen. Grimes has to have the ability to see the incoming player. So right here, this rule is going to actually benefit guys like Dante DiVincenzo and Josh Hart as they fight through these screens. And it's looking like this is going to hurt teams like the Miami Heat and the Golden State Warriors with all that off-ball movement to try to get guys open for shots, and also the Milwaukee Bucks. They run a lot of these dribble handoffs to get Giannis running downhill. But right here, as you can see, this dribble handoff right there at the same time is a screen. You can't do that anymore. Just looking at it one more time. See, he dumps it off and it becomes a screen.
The final example in this section will again show illegal contact that occurs in a screening situation. The highlighted offensive player, Toumani Camara, does not give the moving defensive player, Devin Booker, an opportunity to avoid the contact, and an offensive foul for an illegal screen was needed here. To be considered legal, the screener must get directly into his opponent's path and give him the opportunity to avoid contact. On this next play, we will see the highlighted offensive player, Duncan Robinson, initiate illegal contact with his opponent. Robinson uses his off arm to push off the on-ball defender, Darius Garland, clearly affecting Garland's ability to defend the play. This contact, initiated by Robinson, is more than marginal, and an offensive foul was correctly called by the slot official.
So mainly this rule right here is going to affect some of the superstars in the league. Guys like SGA, they love that off-arm action, pushing all their momentum back into the defender. And guys like Stephen Curry and Giannis especially. So our Eastern Conference rivals are going to be affected by this rule change, particularly the Milwaukee Bucks.
The next point of education to review is traveling, and this first play will show an example of a traveling violation on the perimeter. The offensive player, John Conchar, establishes his right foot as his pivot foot, but he then lifts that right foot prior to releasing the ball on the dribble. A traveling violation was correctly called on this play. This next play will show another example of a traveling violation on the perimeter. The highlighted offensive player, Yuta Watanabe, receives the pass and he establishes his right foot as his pivot foot, but he then lifts that right foot off the floor prior to releasing the ball on the dribble. A traveling violation needed to be called on this play.
Now, if you notice in these last two clips, these are mainly role players. One role player I've never heard of before, by the way, is Memphis is playing with a bunch of G Leaguers. But I'm wondering if this level of detail, when it comes to just looking at the footsteps, applies to the superstar players. As we all know, from time to time, these guys get away with more frequent flyer miles from game to game.
Non-basketball moves remain a point of education, and the first type to review is an offensive player abnormally extending part of his body into a defender. The highlighted offensive player, Terry Rozier, takes a jump shot and he then extends his right leg out in an overt manner, initiating illegal contact with the defender, Dennis Schroeder, tripping him and taking him out of normal play. As this is clearly more than marginal contact initiated by Rozier, this was correctly ruled an offensive foul.
So this rule right here was actually emphasized in 2021, mainly affecting guys like Trae Young and James Harden, as from time to time, not only they kick their legs out, but also after jumping straight up in the air, they would actually land slanted, trying to initiate the contact. But interesting enough that they brought this back up to the officials in the 2024 March meeting.
The next play in this section again shows a shooter extending part of his body outside his normal motion to shoot. The offensive player, DeJounte Murray, extends his right leg in an overt manner, but while it is overt, he only makes marginal contact with his defender, Damian Lillard. As this is only marginal contact initiated by Murray and the defender was not taken out of normal play, this is correctly deemed to be a no call and a play-on situation.
This last play right here, I would take it with a grain of salt, as if it was Damian Lillard taking that shot and he got hit like that, they might have called a foul. So it depends. I believe stars would get calls like this. But the officials do have the habit of reffing the player, not the actual play. And sometimes we do see it play out when Team USA goes and plays these FIBA international games, where the referees don't necessarily give them the benefit of the doubt based on the player, but the actual play.
The next type of non-basketball move to review is a dribbler abruptly veering off his path and moving sideways or backwards into a defender. The highlighted dribbler, Mike Conley, drives toward the paint, but he moves abruptly to his left, initiating illegal contact to the defensive player, Colin Sexton. This contact by Conley is clearly more than marginal, as it affects Sexton's ability to defend the play. This was correctly ruled an offensive foul by the trail official. Similar to the previous play, again we will see a dribbler abruptly veering off his path and moving sideways or backwards into a defender. The highlighted dribbler, Jordan Poole, drives toward the paint, but he moves abruptly to his right, initiating illegal contact to the defensive player, Mikal Bridges. This contact by Poole is more than marginal, as it clearly affects Bridges' ability to defend the play. This was correctly ruled an offensive foul by the lead official. The next type of non-basketball move to review is when an offensive player uses his off arm to initiate illegal contact with his defender. On this play, the dribbler, James Harden, uses his off arm to hook the arm of the defender, Terry Rozier. This illegal contact initiated by Harden, seen clearly on the replay, affects Rozier's ability to defend the play. An offensive foul was correctly called on this play by the slot official.
You know, James Harden is another player I forgot to add on to that list of just guys who love using that off arm and just trying to at least draw a foul or push guys off. James Harden has a very large and strong upper body. Even though at times he does look overweight, he's very, very, very brolic up top. So he uses all his forward momentum and then uses that off arm to push it onto the defender, and then he stops at a dime for the jumper. So the rest will be paying very close attention.
The final type of non-basketball move to review is the rip-through, specifically in regards to an offensive player moving the ball upward in a direction away from the basket. Here, the highlighted offensive player, Trae Young, abruptly swings his arm through the left arm of his defender, Malik Beasley, to initiate contact. But since Young moved the ball upward in a direction away from the basket, this was not considered a legitimate shot attempt, but instead it is a non-basketball move, and therefore the ruling on this play was a no call and a play-on situation. Another type of rip-through move can be seen on this next play. The highlighted offensive player, Nikola Jokic, starts his move by ripping through the arm of the defender, Jusuf Nurkic. This was deemed a legitimate basketball play by Jokic, and the contact results in a non-shooting foul called on Nurkic. The replays show that Jokic kept the ball low to the ground as he sought to drive by Nurkic in a basketball manner when the illegal contact occurred.
So right here, we're watching Trae Young make a disgusting non-basketball move, as the only difference is here between him and Jokic is that Jokic actually made a move towards the hoop. A lot of these things really come off the James Harden tree, I should say. For a time period, he almost made watching NBA games similar to just watching a boxing fight with a bunch of jabs. So there you have it. Once again, this is just for informational purposes only. The competition committee had previously met up with the officials, and they are emphasizing that they want the officials to focus on some of these calls. It frees up a lot of off-ball defending by the Knicks players, especially running into these impossible screens that were set last minute. With the league kind of changing the standards of screens throughout the years to try to allow more freedom of movement by offensive players, it pretty much has gotten out of hand where now guys are just overtly just almost giving defenders no breathing room to at least see the screen coming. And also, NBA stars have been brought back down to earth a little bit with the off-arm movement along with the non-basketball moves. The scoring this season has been kind of out of hand. We've seen way too many 70-point games, or every other 4 days a guy scoring 60+ points, and Luka dropping 70 on the Hawks where it just looked like he was walking for the whole game. That was a sign right there that things pretty much got out of hand. But hey, the referees will be calling this tight down the stretch, along with teams entering into the playoffs where the refs already were going to tuck in their whistles and kind of let things play out. So this point of emphasis, along with the playoff intensity, does benefit the Knicks. And the basketball guys are looking like they're going to be on our side with the Knicks regaining players back to health. Mitchell Robinson, Julius Randle, along with OG heading into April with a team roster that has characteristics of being defensively minded. So we'll see how things play out. Until next time, you fellas stay safe. Peace.